College ran by real fast because I played so much football.
This was the final season of me taking over the football career of Forrest Gump. If you haven't watched any of the previous 4 episodes, which includes my high school career, fighting for playing time as a freshman, and eventually becoming a starter and the #1 option for the Alabama offense, I would recommend watching those as well. You guys have showed me so much love on this series, and I absolutely loved making these videos. Consider subscribing and be on the lookout for the Bobby Boucher series coming real soon.
He must be the stupidest son of a alive, but he sure is fast.
This was the year that I was going to make sure I took over college football as one of the best receivers in the country. And it was great that Nick Saban was trying to get me involved in a bunch of different ways, but it was even more important that I was the go-to receiver in critical times of the game. After the DB strapped me up on that play, on 3rd and 18, I would run across the middle and split the entire defense for my first touchdown of the season. In my freshman year, DBs were able to jam me at the line and I wouldn't be able to get free, but I was a much more polished player at this point in my career. And just before the end of the first half, I would catch my second touchdown of the game. We were in complete control of Michigan State as the game plan was get the ball in my hands and let me work. And I would score my 3rd touchdown of the game with this beautiful stutter and go. Me and Jalen Milroe had put all our differences aside from the past couple of seasons, and I was clearly his favorite target. I went off in the rain against Arkansas State because they just weren't equipped to handle a receiver like me. I had no idea that I was strong enough to just run through multiple people, and me and Jalen Milroe were connecting on everything, as I would run through this arm tackle and drag the next defender for a couple of more yards. And then this touchdown in the second quarter would obviously put the game out of reach, but I was on a mission to be an All-American, and I needed to score as much as possible. After only being second team All-SEC twice, it was going to be a tough ask, but with a couple of more 3-touchdown games like this one, it was not only possible at this point, but it was more than likely. We started off down 7-0 against Pitt, and I would run the cleanest whip route of my life, but it only went for a couple yards. We'd be able to drive down the field, however, and after releasing inside on this route, I'd bend it back to the corner and Jalen Milroe would find me in between the DBs. I had so much confidence in myself that I thought I was going to take this pass all the way for a touchdown. I wouldn't be able to, but this hitch and go would set us up in position to try and go score some more points. But we punted instead and Pittsburgh started driving the length of the field. Their running back carried him all the way down to the 1-yard line and their quarterback would take it in to give him a 10-point lead. We needed to answer quickly, and this tunnel screen was run to perfection. I would split the defenders and the receivers would all make their blocks, and I cut the lead to 3. After a Pittsburgh field goal, we were still down by 6. So as soon as I beat the corner off the line on this route, I knew that no one was going to catch me, and I would take it all the way to give us the 1-point lead in the 4th quarter. We were trying to bleed the clock out with a couple of minutes left, and Milroe would throw it into coverage, and even though I went up and tried my best to get it, the safety would intercept it. Pitt would turn that into the game-winning field goal, and I was devastated because I thought it was my fault. After going for almost 600 yards and 9 touchdowns in my last 3 games combined, I figured I was going to violate Boston College. And that's exactly how things were going in the first quarter as me and Jalen Milroe were on the same page. And I was pretty much on pace to score 4 touchdowns after this one in the first quarter. But things quickly started going left from there. This pass from Jalen Milroe must have been a little too fast because it just smacked me in the chest. And from that point forward, I just started struggling. And it felt like I couldn't catch anything through contact. A skill that I had prided myself on since high school. And the biggest reason Alabama took me in the first place. I got back on track with this catch over the middle. And I probably would have took it the distance if my teammate wasn't Helen Keller and didn't run right into me. Boston College briefly took the lead here, but we would score and go for 2 and I would convert, putting us back up by 7, and then this 4th quarter touchdown would seal it for us. We were able to escape that game because we played a BC team that was just awful, but we couldn't play like that again. I tied an NCAA record in this game against Ole Miss, and it was just amazing to see the progression that I was making over the years. From being a bench warmer my freshman season to being the #1 target on this team. And not only that, but my production this season was off the charts. But somehow negative plays like this one were still so frustrating, and I took my anger out on this DB. I was surprised I didn't get a taunting penalty for standing over him this long. I said, "What you trying to do, little boy? You ain't gonna do nothing." I promise you he didn't do anything. But after we threw this interception late in the second quarter, I would punish that DB as well. I felt like Ray Lewis on that hit. I was starting to feel like a bully out there, so I calmed myself down with this touchdown. We were in complete control of Ole Miss throughout this game, and it felt like we had a good chance of competing for the SEC championship this season as well. I ended up tying the NCAA single game receptions record, as well as breaking Devontae Smith's Alabama receiving yardage record. We were taking on the #2 team in the country in Texas A&M, and after A&M took a 7-0 lead, I started making some of the most ridiculous plays of my career. And even though I'm white myself, I'm still surprised they put a white corner on me. I took advantage of him more than the Army does with kids that have no idea what they want to do in life. Except he wasn't going to get a Dodge Charger at the end of this game, but the rest of Texas A&M's team was just too good, and we were down too much in the fourth quarter. We would drop our second game of the season as I would hang my head in shame walking out of the stadium. We were taking on Arkansas in the pouring rain, but that wasn't going to stop me from having another ridiculous game. At this point in my career, there wasn't a single DB in the country that could keep up with me, and we were in complete control in this game against Arkansas as we would continue to drive our way down and try to go up by 21. But just as we were about to score again in the second quarter, Jalen Milroe's pass would get intercepted over the middle, but that wasn't going to stop us at all. You would think that DBs would be ready for my hitch and go at this point, but they just weren't. After getting us all the way down the field, I'd score a touchdown, and the onslaught would just continue from there on. Just before the fourth quarter, I'd score another one to put this game out of reach and build my All-American resume. This was one of the strangest and wildest games you're ever going to see. We started this game off against Tennessee with miscommunication between me and Jalen Milroe, which would end up in this interception and eventually a 14-3 lead for Tennessee. And then this interception in the third quarter killed all our momentum. But we turned things around with this ridiculously strange catch. As Tennessee was tackling me, I was still on the back of one of the defenders and got right back up and kept running. We would score on that possession and Jalen Milroe would convert the 2-point try. And even though Tennessee answered with a touchdown right back, I would run a post corner crispier than Freddy Krueger's face. And of course I would take it the distance because no one was even close to me. And with that momentum, our defense would force Tennessee into punting, and with just 10 seconds left on the clock, would connect on this long touchdown throw to give us the lead in the game. And I couldn't believe we had just completed that ridiculous fourth quarter comeback. We had another thriller again this week against LSU, and I was shocked that jet sweep would actually work. After extending our drive with that jet sweep, I would convert this third down into a touchdown. And after having butterfingers earlier in the season, I caught every ball thrown at me. Pause. It felt like we were in complete control of this game against LSU, but it had a similar vibe to the Tennessee game, except for we were on the other end of it, because once I got us into scoring position here, we would go up by 2 touchdowns, but LSU wasn't out of it, and this interception here would put them back in the game. Their quarterback stood poised in the pocket on this 4th and 5 and would deliver a strike to tie the game up. They recovered a fumble on the ensuing kickoff and would be up by 7, so this touchdown in the fourth quarter was only going to send us to overtime. In OT, I would completely take over, and then I would run this slant to go and give us the lead. Our defense needed to make a stand, and that's exactly what they would do on this 4th and 3 as we would avoid the upset to our rival. We were having a back and forth game against Mississippi State. After not being able to secure this catch, we would eventually have to punt, and Mississippi State would take advantage and go up 7-0. But this slant and go would get us back in the game, and this throw by Jalen Milroe hit me so hard in the head I think my IQ dropped from 75 to 60. But I didn't need to be smart to get open and catch touchdowns. And at this point in my career, that's all I knew how to do. We were down 10 at this point, and after I freed myself up with a beautiful route, Jalen Milroe would throw it off his back foot and it would get intercepted. We kept trying to fight and claw our way back, and I would score my 3rd touchdown of the day here. But on the most critical 3rd down of the game, I would go over the middle and would drop it as I got hit. We would punt the ball away and never see it again, as Mississippi State would take us down, and of course we had Georgia next. I tied the single game NCAA record for receptions again, and you wouldn't have thought it would be possible with the way this game started out. We were struggling against Georgia, and Jalen Milroe wasn't helping us out with throwing these types of interceptions. Of course, Georgia would take advantage and drive the length of the field 99 yards to go up 14-0. We would answer, but unfortunately our defense couldn't stop their offense and they were still up by 2 touchdowns. I would convert this 3rd and 14 to give us a chance to try and cut this lead down to 1 possession, but naturally just before the half we would throw another interception. I gave my team a Tim Tebow-esque speech at halftime, and we would score immediately out of the break. And if we were going to have any type of chance in this game, I was going to have to be the one to take over. After dropping a crucial 3rd down last week, this 3rd and 6 would extend our drive, and Jalen Milroe would take advantage from there, using his legs to run it 20 yards for the touchdown to tie it up. A 3-and-out would give us the ball back, and this catch would put us in field goal range. Our kicker would drill it as time expired, and we would upset the number 7 team in the country in our rival Georgia, as I went on to have 23 catches for over 300 yards. We were playing in the Iron Bowl, and I had to treat this game like our national championship, because we sure as hell weren't getting to the playoffs. I was obviously in Heisman considerations with the type of games I was having this season, but I wasn't really worried about that. I just wanted to get us the dub. After almost coming down with this ridiculous catch, we would be in a 3rd and 10, but I'd be able to run the perfect route to get me open, and I ran over the Auburn defender so hard that he froze on the ground. This was probably one of my stranger touchdowns in my career, but I would take it anyways. As Jalen Milroe would extend our lead to 17 in the 3rd quarter, this post corner would get me wide open and I'd be able to bulldoze a defender over for the touchdown. Georgetown. We would end up completely destroying our rival Auburn, who was also a top 10 team, and I made my way to New York for the Heisman ceremony, but unfortunately I would come in second place in one of the closest races of all time. I would end up winning 3 trophies though, the Maxwell, Walter Camp, and Bolitnikoff, and I'd accomplished what I set out to do 5 years ago, becoming an All-American. This was the very last game of me playing out the college career of Forrest Gump. After playing football for the Greenbow Chocolates, my hometown high school, I would eventually earn an offer from legendary coach Nick Saban, and I was beyond blessed to play football for the University of Alabama. I came in as the 6th string receiver and would slowly work my way up the depth chart throughout the years. I didn't run when things got tough, and I wasn't looking to transfer to go play somewhere else right away. And me and Jalen, oh my god, I murdered this kid. Anyways, as I was saying, me and Jalen Milroe built a connection over the last 4 years, especially considering we were in the same class. And even though he wasn't Bryce Young, he was still a dog. My goal from the beginning of this series was to become an All-American like the real Forrest Gump, and it took me until my senior season, and it was absolutely ridiculous catches like this one that was the reason I was having the most historic season a receivers ever had in college football. Me and Jalen Milroe would win the final games of our college careers, and for one final time I was named player of the game as I would soak in the crowd.
Now, can you believe it? After only 5 years of playing football, I got a college degree.
Have you given any thought to your future?
I would enlist in the Army immediately after receiving my diploma, but I would leave Alabama as the most decorated player in its history.
Coconut shrimp, pepper shrimp, shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes. That's about it.